Howdy, folks. Happy Tuesday. Happy post-deadline day. I think everybody got some rest. I know Russ and I got some pizza. I know that I took a picture of the pie, and by the way, I had to, after the webcast was done, I had to. I think everybody. There we go.
I fixed it.
Thank you. I had to write an article, so I didn't get my infusion of pizza until the second period of the Leafs Sabres game, but it was well worth it. It was a delicious pie, and there's still some slices in the refrigerator. Okay, Russ, let's start us off.
All right, so baseball. Quickie about baseball because two things happened yesterday. One thing was, and you don't really see this happen. Well, you didn't see it happen. Now you do. The Mets played the Tigers yesterday. They ended the game in a 3-3 tie in the ninth inning. Nobody won in the ninth, and they just said, you know what? Let's call it a day. Like, what the hell is that?
It's called spring training. The Yankees got rained out with the Phillies today, and they said, well, it's canceled. It's not postponed. It's canceled. We don't make up spring training games. So do they refund all the tickets of all the people that went to George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, if that's where the game was?
So.
I would think so, but because the game's never going to be played.
Right, the game will never be played. The thing about spring training is this, and you're paying $20, $25 a seat. Yes, you're closer, but some guys are literally playing half speed. Like, if you watch the Mets, they're playing spring training like they're the 86 Mets. The only issue is they're not as good. So you see guys like Robinson Cano, he's barely swinging. Like, he is just going through the basics.
Yeah.
Pitchers are trying. Like, Syndergaard pitched well. Those guys are trying. DeGrom pitched well. Well, he didn't pitch well. He just pitched an inning the other day, gave up a run. But they're not even throwing all their pitches. They go through like half of what they normally do as far as just for the work. They don't even go through every pitch for a while. So I don't know. I get that it's warm in Florida, but I can't spend the money on spring training.
Oh, the last thing I would ever do is waste a plane trip to Florida to go see those games because the games are meaningless. It's like It'd be nice, like right now it's 25 degrees in Buffalo to get out of this cold and go down and watch a game, but the game is meaningless. It's more you're going down there for the weather. So
and that really is what it is. That's true. And then so the last thing I know you want to bring up the Nolan Arenado signing. So he signs for the highest AAV in Major League Baseball history, which is something that I've told you that especially in baseball means a lot, right? So for 10 minutes, he'll have the highest AAV until Bryce Harper signs. And then this $266 million is a football contract because there's an out in the third year.
Right.
So it's like, why do they even bother going through and negotiating these ridiculous contracts, long-term deals like that, when they're going to have a 3-year out or a 4-year out?
Well, and the funny thing is like somebody and I'm struggling here, but David Price with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
He's got an out, but he'll never get paid what he was getting paid on that contract. So of course he's not going to take it. It should be a mutual out, but it's always the player. And they can opt out after 3 years, but it's all in Arenado's favor. And God forbid if Arenado has an injury. Yeah, he's not going to opt out, or if his numbers just drop precipitously at age 28 or 29, he's not going to opt out. The team is stuck with that contract.
Well, I posted to a friend. It'll be nice when he's on the Mets because Todd Frazier's already hurt for the Mets. So you figure in 3 years, if Arenado wants to leave Colorado and go to a bigger place, I'm sure the Mets would take him.
Yeah, and Jed Lowry is hurt too. No. What I was gonna bring up in connection with Arenado, and then we'll get on hockey here. But there are parallels here with hockey, or at least it's sort of mirror imaging with hockey. The salaries are going up and up and up on a cap system, a hard cap system in the NHL, and I'd say the trend is forget about any hometown discount. If you're even a hometown guy like Austin Matthews, and I don't begrudge him this, you're going to get top dollar. You're going to get what you're not going to be asked by the team to take a haircut. You're going to get what you probably deserve. That's not what's going on in baseball here. First of all, you got a bunch of mercenaries like Machado and Harper who are looking for the big payday, and it's February 26th, and one of them is still out there. Arenado stays in Colorado for a salary which is commensurate with free agency. But if you look at some of the other deals that have just been signed, like the 2 deals the Yankees signed in the last week, Luis Severino, 4 years, $10 million each. Aaron Hicks, 7 years, $10 million each. They're taking deals to stay with the Yankees at a lesser amount because maybe they'd make more AAV on deals in free agency going out there next year. But you may end up in San Diego. You may end up in Seattle. You're not going to end up in a team that you know is going to be competitive every year. So the hometown discount.
And this is real. If you get hooked on egg creams as a player, there's only a couple places in the country you can get them now. So then you just stay a Yankee just for that.
Yeah, Yoo-hoo. You like Yoo-hoo. Okay.
Not the banana flavor. Those are god awful.
Oh, God, there is a banana flavor?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
There's a strawberry, right?
Yeah, strawberry, and there's a banana.
Yeah,
and they still make the banana, but
and the original is chocolate. And the only way I can describe Yoo-hoo to people who've never had it is it's chocolate flavored water.
Yeah, the chocolate banana Yoo-hoo still exists.
Yeah, it's chocolate flavored water. That's what it is.
It is, and I'm pretty good friends with Lindsay Berra, Yogi's granddaughter, and she hates it. She hates the stuff.
I thought she was his granddaughter. And then she's Dale's
granddaughter.
Oh, you did say. I thought you said daughter. Okay, no, she's Dale's daughter.
Yeah,
and a very nice person. Okay, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Tuesday, February 26th, the day after 2019.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and I feel like I've slept, but still a little draggy.
Yeah, me too. It must be the carb coma from the pizza. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. I want to start with this because it just got tweeted out from Paul Vieira, who I believe is a correspondent in Ottawa for the Wall Street Journal, but it has to do with the Ottawa Senators and the LeBreton Flats situation.
Right.
According to this, the entity who is responsible for the downtown arena told parliamentary reporters today that there will be no extension beyond February 28th for Eugene Melnyk and Trinity Developments to reach a deal on the new downtown hockey arena in LeBreton Flats. So there was an extension previous. It was last month, I believe.
And it's, I guess, expiring in the next couple
expiring days. Now. They're not going to extend it, and nothing has happened. So unless something gets negotiated in the next 48 hours,
right.
Then right now, I mean, you think that the team is being dismantled. Well, honestly, this is the only way for Melnyk and the current ownership of that, and the current structure of that team to generate revenue going forward. And if that doesn't happen, I really think, Russ, it opens up the possibility of them moving to Quebec City.
I mean, the possibility definitely exists. I'd lie if I said otherwise. I'm still bullish at what they did in the last 2 weeks in these trades and what they have in their system. Mm-hmm. Again, it's easy to look past the players that have gone, but the players that are coming and the picks that they have, this could still be something really good, but it's going to take, it's going to take 3 years. You don't have any choice. You're going to have patience. Now, as far as the arena, yes, that throws another sort of monkey wrench into it, but a lot can happen in 48 hours, so I'm not going to overreact right now.
No, I mean, I'm just saying if something doesn't come together in the next 48 hours, then it's, it could get really ugly. Now, let's start there because, I mean, they were the busiest team with the exception of maybe Winnipeg and Nashville. They were the team that was dishing out the talent. Duchesne and Dzingel going to Columbus, Stone going to Vegas. They didn't move Cody Ceci, but it sounds like that's probably going to happen in the summer. The teardown might continue. It could be, Pajot could be, and more players. Jeff Merrick made the point that we made yesterday on Hockey Central. He was talking about like all the kids that they have, but it is important to have like veterans around. Mark Stone apparently was, Brady Tkachuk was staying with Mark Stone. He was, it was being his sort of veteran guy to help him along. And I know Keith Kachuk said something via Twitter about how good of an influence Mark Stone was on Brady. Well, that's gone now. And, you're probably going to see Craig Anderson and CC and a few other veterans move out. That's a problem because now you're going to have to pay somebody else to come in and probably pay them extra money to come in and be that veteran.
Yeah, and they'll have to do it because they'll have to reach the cap floor like that. Cody Ceci could still get the contract he's looking for because they're going to have to reach the cap floor. But they do have a lot of defensemen coming, traded for, obviously, with Brandstrom. They have Bernard Docker coming. They have Johnny Taconic coming in a few years. So if Cece's around for those guys, it could be a really good defensive core. What'll happen is, like it happens with older players, he'll start up on the second pair and end up on the third pair, but that's okay.
But I don't remember whether he went for arbitration. I think he did, and he got $4.3 million. They can qualify him. 10%, that would be around 4.7 or 4.8 million. And then he's a UFA. And then basically you have the same scenario with CC that you did with all the players this year. So, they could keep him around for 1 year to reach the cap floor, or they could sign him long-term. And I would think you'd want to sign him long-term. And I think he's from the Ottawa area. So,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So,
I know so.
Yeah, so you would think that would be somebody they'd want to keep, but
and he played for the 67s, so he's anchored to that area. Like I would be very surprised if he leaves. I think it would take a lot for him to want to leave.
Now, okay, let's go division by division and say like winners or losers, and we won't say losers for the teams that are out of the playoffs because that's really pointless. But so in the Atlantic, you're talking Tampa. You're talking Boston, you're talking Toronto, Montreal, and we could say Buffalo because Buffalo's still in the race, but they're fading fast.
Yeah.
So right now I'm not saying Tampa is a loser because they didn't do anything. I don't think that anybody really gained significant ground on them other than Columbus, but Columbus is at the bottom of the playoff standings right now. So they may have gained, but they're not in the same area as Tampa. Tampa didn't do anything, but I still think they're winners in the sense that they're going to win the President's Trophy going away, Russ.
Yeah, Tampa's here, the rest are here, and so they didn't have to do anything. But that's why I said all those rumors that were coming out of Tampa were ridiculous because they had a limited amount of money, flexibility, and willingness to do a lot of these deals that they were rumored for. I'm sure they were making calls, but in the end result, they probably made the right decision.
Now, what may happen, because we've been talking about, the chickens are going to come home to roost in the summer because they're going to have Braden Point. They're probably going to get that signed before July 1st, so they won't risk the offer sheet.
But I have a funny chicken story if you want it. No, it's a good one. Okay. So I'm watching a screener for Kristen Cavallari's show for season 2, and they own a farm, her and Jay Cutler. I literally watch for Jay Cutler. I've told you this. And so they're trying to
There's something wrong with you.
I know. But if you watched it, you would see why Jay Cutler is just he's some sort of psychological study. I'm not sure for what, but he really is. So you see that at the beginning they're complaining about this one chicken because it's not laying any eggs. Like, why isn't this chicken laying eggs? So he's got this whole theory. He's videotaping it. He's trying to watch what it does. And it turns out 10 minutes into the episode, they realize it's a rooster.
I knew that was coming.
And this is the truth. I only believe they found out it was a rooster because finally it was making the noise of a rooster, not because of anything else.
What a cock and bull story. Anyway, but okay, Tampa Bay. We were talking about how the chickens are going to come home to roost in the summer when they have to probably move Tyler Johnson or some salary off of that roster to pay for Braden Point. And we were talking about young players like Boris Kachuk and Taylor Radish. it's possible that they will have to attach one of those guys, like say in a deal for Ryan Callahan with the Rangers, because the Rangers supposedly have been interested. They're going to have to add one of those guys onto a deal for the Rangers to take Ryan Callahan off their hands.
Yeah, if they wanted to do that during the summer, they'd exactly have to do that. No question about it.
But so they sort of kept their powder dry when it came to moving young prospects, and they got a lot of them. But
you're fitting in a lot of cliches early. I got to give you credit.
Yeah. I'm trying. Okay, so Tampa, they stood pat, so they're not a winner, not a loser, but they're the team to beat in the East.
Yeah.
I think Boston was a winner because they didn't really pay a hefty price other than Donato. They got Coyle and Marcus Johansson. I think that provides good depth in their top 9.
It does. And actually, because of Coyle, Johansson is a completely different player than what they were talking about in like Wayne Simmons. I felt like they needed to get somebody who was faster because Johansson's going to play in the bottom 6, and that's where you're going to be looking to get that secondary scoring, that support scoring. And so I felt like adding Johansson was good for them. Now, injuries aside, if they lose Bergeron, season's over.
Yes.
If they lose Chara, it would hurt them, but it wouldn't end their season.
Right.
So they still have a little bit of that going on, but the depth is much better that if they lost Krejci, which everybody could see happening, they could still survive.
They could plug in Coyle at center. Or Backus, they'd be slower, but they'd still be. Yeah, I think the 3 most essential guys are Bergeron, Marchand, and I'm not, Pasternak's out right now, so I'm not including him. But obviously, when he's healthy, he's up there too. But I think it's Bergeron, Marchand, and McAvoy. If they lose McAvoy again, I think their defense takes a significant drop.
Yeah, he's another one they almost can't afford to lose. But we could say that about a lot of teams. Although, we've talked about the Wild, they lost it and they're still in it. I think Boston could do a similar magic trick to the Wild and sort of stay in it, even losing a McAvoy. But it wouldn't be easy.
Now, I'll be a little controversial here. I consider the Leafs mild losers here because they didn't address.
No, there's no mild loser. Either you're a
then I'll stop.
Loser, Mike.
Then I'll say they're a loser because I think they needed to at least improve depth defensively. They didn't. So if one injury happens on the blue line, it's Igor Rozganov as the number 6 defenseman, as a defenseman stepping in. If they have 2 injuries on the blue line, it's Martin Marinson. We
can't talk about worrying about 2 injuries on the blue line.
Well, I'll just say 1. If it's 1, it's Igor Rozganov, who is about 50 games of NHL experience. They didn't add any depth. They're fine at forward. They're really good at goaltender.
They did add depth at forward. They did.
I like Patan. I have no problems with Patan. I think I don't know whether Babcock's going to use him because he likes his guys and he's a new guy.
Patan's he's feisty. He's a smaller guy, but he's a good skater. He's got a good all-around game. I think there's a chance that he would like him now.
And he's versatile. He can play center or wing.
And that's the thing. So even if he wants to keep Gauthier in there for some reason, he still could try him out at wing and see what he has at wing if he wants to.
Well, Gauthier actually played one of his best games of his career yesterday against Buffalo, had a goal, played really well, but it's sort of few and far between.
By the way, Andrew wants us to know that, by the way, this was for Boston. Johansson was skating on the second line. I don't know if he'll play. Mm-hmm. They always work guys in on a higher line and they end up settling in, so that doesn't shock me.
Well, you got to take into consideration that they've moved somebody into Pasternak's place. Right. So when Pasternak comes in, they'll shift everybody down. I think Johansson could be the winger on the Krejci-DeBrusk line, and then they have Coyle and Backus and Heinen on the third line, maybe. So but they've got options. They have flexibility. But just going back to Toronto quickly, yes. They didn't really make any changes. Dubas basically said, "I have confidence in this group." Okay, fine. If you lose in the first round of Boston, again, there's going to be – I think he's going to take a little heat because he didn't pull off – he pulled off a deal for top 4 defenseman and wasn't going to be there next year. He didn't move Gardner. There were rumors about them moving Gardner. There were rumors about them moving Connor Brown for defensive help. Neither one happened. And if they fall short because of their defense, then I think, that there's going to be a lot of skepticism regarding the Leafs.
See, I can't call them a loser, and I won't. Because you're sort of acting like the guy who has his birthday falling on Christmas Day and then says, well, I didn't get anything for Christmas because everything came from my birthday. You got Jake Muzzin early, and then you conveniently wanted to forget about it and wanted more. You didn't get more. So now you say, well, they're losers, but they got the one thing. Hold on. They got the one thing you had been screaming about for 2 seasons.
Yeah, but the problem is their head coach is using them like a bottom pairing guy. He's putting him on the bottom.
We don't know how that'll end up.
Okay, we'll see. If he's playing 22, 23 minutes and Ron Hainsey's on the bottom pairing in the playoffs, then I'll retract what I'm saying. But right now, the coach is using him as a number 5, and Jake Muzzin is not a number 5. So anyway, Montreal did pretty much nothing after. I mean, they added Jordan Wheel. They added Nate Thompson and Dale Weiss before the deadline.
And those were good ads. Those were good ads.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say they're in the in between. They really didn't make
in the middle. They didn't really. Yeah, they're a wash.
Buffalo, I think, improved. I like the ad of Montour. They had 3 first-round picks. Now they have 2.
I think you're underestimating the ad of Montour. Like, that's a massive ad.
No, I'm not. I like him. I think it's a good move.
I think just by adding Montour, it should move Zach Bogosian down to the 3rd pairing. If it doesn't, then they're crazy, because I think now there's no reason to put him in the top 2 on the top 2 pairings.
Yesterday they played him with Darlene. So, I mean, I know.
But I mean, you know what's going to happen. The playoffs are going to start. He's going to get burned a few times, and they're going to change that.
Well, that's assuming if Buffalo gets in the playoffs.
If they get
if they get there. But I think they're a mild winner because I think that improves their defense. But we did hear those Ristolainen rumors pop up again before yesterday. And, adding Montour might give them, now they've added a righty in Montour. They could decide they can trade Ristolainen in the summer, and if they want to move him out and go younger or whatever they want to do. But I think that opens up the possibility of that happening. Okay.
I just want to tell you the chat room's all over the fact that you're wearing gray again.
Oh, well, I wore red yesterday. I wore blue the day before. I have gray sweaters, folks. Get used to it. What are you wearing? What color are you wearing, Les?
I'm wearing gray.
Yeah, so stick it.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. I mean, what is this? Anyway, Metro Division. I obviously Columbus is a big winner, but I don't agree with the philosophy. I don't agree with them, bailing out on the next 2 rounds.
Just one sec. BK Ups is saying, really, Montour better than Muzzin? Yes, really. Montour is better than Muzzin. Montour is already a top pairing guy at his age. There is still some upside with Brandon Montour. Muzzin, you know what he is. Yes. He has some limitations. He is very good, don't get me wrong, but he is not like a top point producer where Montour could get a 50-point season in if things broke right for him.
Muzzin is more balanced. I think he's better defensively than Montour. My problem with what they gave, and I don't have a problem with what they gave up for Muzzin, is the fact that he should be in the top 4. He's not been in the top 4. Montour, I think Buffalo paid a little bit less. He's a righty that the Leafs needed. The Leafs added a lefty. I mean, Montour would have been a better fit for what the Leafs were looking for than Muzzin. But you made the point yesterday that Montour may not have been available when they made the deal for Muzzin. Right. They didn't know if he was ever going to come available. So. But I
went down. Like, he had 32 points in his rookie year, his second year, and then he had 32 and then 25. But I'm telling you, he could be in the 40s, high 40s if he were to play with Darlene for sure. But if he just gets on the right pairing, that could help a lot.
Okay, so we know Columbus is a winner, but in terms of the deadline, in terms of what they added, but the question is whether what they did was the wise course or not. And we're really not going to know about that until the summer when we see who gets re-signed, if anybody, and, where Panarin goes. I mean, of all of them, I don't know. Like, they're not going to re-sign Kincaid. They're not going to re-sign McQuaid. Right. They're probably not going to re-sign Dzingel. It's probably Duchesne, and then if you lose Bobrovsky, and
you don't know that they're not going to re-sign Dzingel. Like, we don't.
Maybe.
Know.
I mean, maybe. I'm assuming, but of all the ads, maybe one at most 2 will stay. unless they get to the conference final or the Stanley Cup final.
They could fall like a game short of the Stanley Cup, and everybody says, you know what, we're coming back.
Yep.
It's Duchesne for 1 year. Like, you never know.
Okay.
You don't think that possibility exists, or you do think?
No, I don't. I don't think that Panarin or Bobrovsky, there's any scenario they're coming back. I think they're gone.
No, Panarin. No, I'm not talking about them. But I'm talking about guys like Duchesne, guys that they just got in trades.
Do you think Columbus offers them 8-year max?
They might. I don't know. But maybe he would do it for a year if he felt like their chances were really good, even without Bob, with Kincaid and Korpisalo. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, but maybe. I just know that Duchesne is the same age as Tavares. There was always talk about that 1-year max deal, doing that thing so you could get 8 years from Toronto in free agency or whatever. That didn't come to fruition. He just took the 7. He can get 8 out of Columbus, and if Columbus overpays, and they could because they'll have a lot of cap space, then maybe he signs. If he likes it there, sure. But I don't know. I just think it's a lot to risk. And remember, if they do that, Ottawa gets an extra first round pick. So, I'm not sure. I don't like the path that Columbus took, but if they get to the Stanley Cup final, nobody's going to complain there.
All right, I'm going to have to. This is breaking news for me.
Go ahead.
So, but for everybody, there's a Instagram account called Complete Hockey News, and it's too long after that official. But apparently at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, which is a football field, I'm not really going to be able to make it bigger. Yeah. They put cones to represent a hockey rink. So I don't know if that means that Mr. Dundon now is going to try and get an outdoor game there. And to me, it sounds like he might be trying to do that.
Okay. The
fans down there would love it. Like they would attend that. Actually, you would get a lot of fair weather fans that aren't hockey fans down there that maybe are basketball fans, and probably would show up. Football. Yeah,
the problem is when they realize that there's not a NASCAR race going on there, they're going to.
Oh, Mike, you had to go. Oh, that's bad.
I had to go there. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay. Could it be a success? Sure. It probably would depend on the opponent. Nashville's already playing in Dallas, I believe. That's the Winter Classic. So I think Nashville would be a fit. Washington maybe. I'll renew my complaint about from yesterday. Too many outdoor games, too late in the season. If it's in November, if it's in December, even if it's in January, fine. I think
that would be a Stadium Series game. If it were to go to Carolina, it wouldn't be a Winter Classic. I don't think it would be.
No. Well, the Winter Classic for next year is taken care of.
And it's in the Cotton Bowl. But even if it's in 2 years, you know what I mean?
Sure. I think the Islanders are losers because they did nothing.
All right. I'm going to say the Islanders are okay for doing nothing, but, and there is a caveat, they will get destroyed after the fact if they lose in the first round. There's no question the New York media will hammer them. They're already getting itchy about them not doing anything because just being in that market, Lou doesn't care. I get it. And I know they wanted to keep that team the way it is. I get it. I heard all the quotes. It's nice. I still think they maybe should have gotten a depth forward, but they didn't do it. So they're going to roll with what they have. This is going to fall hard if it doesn't work out now, because I know that everybody should feel like they're playing with house money, so that everybody should be happy because, hey, you're going to make the playoffs. But if they make the playoffs and lose in the first round, I know the market well enough that just making it wasn't going to be good enough because you had a chance to get better and you didn't get better. I'm not going to call them a loser only because I feel like you're in first place. It's hard to be a loser in first place, but I get your point. And
we'll talk about this more. I believe it's Thursday when John Tavares and the Leafs come to town. Yeah. But there was a video, and I retweeted it on. So check out my Twitter feed. There was a video recorded by, I think it was one of the news stations. Channel 12 pops into my mind. I don't know if it's a Long Island station or whatever. But there was a video montage of Islanders.
It is a Long Island station, News 12, yeah.
Yeah, it was a video montage of a series of Islander fans basically bemoaning the fact that Tavares had left New York, and that how he was the people's captain, and now, and calling him pajama boy and all these things. And I responded to this on Twitter about, because everything to blame for the whole situation was lumped on Tavares. And if you think about it, I don't think any of the fault was Tavares. It was the fact that he was willing to stay there, but the organization was a train wreck at that point. Ownership could not get the building built. They didn't know where they're going to play, whether it be Long Island, Uniondale, Long Island, or playing at Barclays. The general manager was Garth Snow, who couldn't put a good team together around John Tavares for 8 years of his career. Yeah. Okay, so where is the blame on Garth Snow and the ownership? There was none. It was a series of fans basically calling John Tavares names because he left.
Yeah, I don't get it. I wouldn't do that if I were an Islander fan. I don't know where that's coming from. He did all he could. He deserves all the cheers he can get, and then when the game starts, boo the hell out of him. That's fine. He expects that.
What I'm surprised is they're gonna do a video montage.
Well, no, I'm not surprised at that.
I know, but I would think that it's gonna get viscerally booed.
Yeah, but they have to do it. They have to do it to show respect to him. So if it gets viscerally booed, it does. But I think, you know what? That's the way it is. But I don't think fans should do that. I don't
either, but they will.
It's their money. Let them do what they want.
We'll finish the East, and then we'll do the West tomorrow.
Okay.
So we discussed Columbus. We discussed the Islanders. Pittsburgh, I know communicated to me that he'd been taking a lot of crap from a lot of fans because of his statement that Eric Gudbranson was a good defenseman. Now, Pittsburgh was between a rock and a hard place. We don't know. We know that Letang's injury is not long-term. We don't know about Dumoulin right now. Right. But they were really in a tough bind when it came to depth on defense. And I think Rutherford did pretty well, getting Gudbranson for Tanner Pearson. So it was basically almost equivalent cap hits. There's still term on both contracts. He needed to bolster the blue line, and he got at least a serviceable NHL defenseman in Chris Weidman for Jean-Sebastien D. So, I mean, that's not bad, but, I mean, they're really scrambling with the injuries on the blue line.
Yeah, I mean, they're patching it together. I think Gudbranson is better than people say. He's definitely physical, and he can at least play that part of the game well. He skates well enough. As far as Weidman, whatever, you're just filling them. I mean, Pearson had 9 goals. That is decent, but in 44 games, it's not fantastic.
Right.
So I think they did do okay. I think they had to do what they did. Otherwise they would drop out of the race, and they can't have that.
And I know there's, huzzas and handsprings going on in British Columbia at the fact that they got rid of Eric Gudbranson, at least from the analytics community, that they got rid of Gudbranson, because that's,
sure.
He's really loved by them.
I'm sure he killed the Canucks this year as well as they were doing. He was killing them.
Yeah, I'm sure. The other team, obviously, is the Capitals. They made the 2 tinkering moves in advance of the deadline, getting Hagelin from LA, getting Nick Jensen from Detroit. I think they're mild winners because they didn't really need to add a big guy. They have the big guys already on the roster. They didn't trade Burakovsky, and they improved their blue line a little bit, and they improved their forwards a little bit. So mild winners for the Caps for me.
Yeah, I think they're winners. I mean, they're giving themselves a chance to repeat. That's all you could ask for. I do think it's tough that they signed Jensen to an extension without seeing him play for the team.
Right.
I'm still going to be a little critical about that. I know. Anna's just having a party back here. End of the day, we'll see how it shakes out. I still think the Caps can go very far. Caps Tampa would be an unbelievable series. It would.
Yeah, and the last one is Carolina. Now, Carolina, all they did was move out one player and bring in Thomas Yurko, who I believe is on an AHL contract. He's not even on an NHL contract. So, hi Anna, how you doing? So right now, I mean, they pretty much stood pat. They didn't trade Michael Furlan. There was talk about Toronto and a couple other teams being interested, but they decided to use him as an own rental. I think they needed to add scoring. There was talk about them being interested in Jason Zucker. That didn't come to fruition. So they didn't make any kind of real big move. They had excess on the blue line. They could have moved that to get some scoring. I think that's going to hurt them. I mean, they probably could still make the playoffs, but I think if they could have added some more goal scoring, they would have improved their chances.
And what team were we talking about again?
Carolina.
Yeah, I think so. But they're a team that, while they're in it today, they know that they may not be in it tomorrow. They got Pittsburgh chasing them. So I think they didn't want to go too far in either direction. They already had made their move, like you said. I feel like they've done a good job this season. So season's not over, and we'll see how it ends. But so far, I think Rob Brindamore's done a good job, and I think Tom Dundon's done a better job this regular season than he did in the summer, because I still think he built up Calgary a little bit. But he has changed the culture, so we have to give him credit.
Now, can we say that the loser of tonight's game between the Sabres and the Flyers is out?
I think the Flyers are out anyhow, but yes, we can say that. If the Sabres win this game, it definitely puts enough distance where you'd say, all right, you know what? That's probably the death blow right there. And mathematically, it won't be. So, of course, we won't hear that until it really happens. But this is a biggie for the Sabres, because they need to really come up big here. I'm going to watch Darlene intently, of course. Mm-hmm. I will be looking for Joe Yerdon, who's there. He's already looking for Gritty. I said, usually where I am, Gritty is, so you'll see Gritty. Although we've never seen a Gritty picture of me and Gritty, so
I was going to say,
never seen that.
You are Gritty.
I think with the game, we're going to see how Ryan Hartman is in a Flyers uniform. I think people don't realize what kind of player he is. I think they're just looking at stats and numbers and don't realize the role he was in Nashville and what he did in Chicago and the difference in minutes and opportunity. And I think that will change when he's with the Flyers. And I think the Flyers fans will ultimately like him. But I'm not sure there was a return on earth that was going to make Flyers fans feel good about trading Wade Simmons. I don't know if you saw the picture. I found an old video, and I was looking for it because I knew there was a game where I covered Simmons where he literally just came out after getting stitched up, and he looked like he went like in a heavyweight fight.
Oh, yeah, I saw you post that.
Yeah, and I posted the video for it too because apparently it's about his mom. Will his mom be calling him? And he gave a funny answer. So even with that eye, he still was cordial with the media, and that's what I think the big takeaway here is with Wayne Simmons. This guy battles as hard as anybody you've ever seen on the ice for every inch on the ice. And then when he's in the locker room, he comes out every time and spoke on behalf of the team, on behalf of teammates, always cordial with the media. I couldn't thank him anymore. Like, there's very few players in any sport like that are willing to answer the bell over and over again. Sidney Crosby is another one, just as an example. Claude Giroux, too, obviously.
It's a good night in the NHL here. I believe it's 11 games. Notable games, Nashville at St. Louis. The San Jose, I think this is the game of the night. San Jose at Boston. So Joe Thornton going back to his old haunts, two of the better teams in hockey. The Flames on Long Island against the Islanders. And so I think that's the first game of the remainder of the schedule at Nassau Coliseum.
I got to challenge Lord Oberman. For one thing, I don't think that's a real title. I think he just got it on YouTube. But he's basically saying the Mets are already out of it. It's not Memorial Day yet. That's when we determine if the Mets are out of it or not.
It's not the week after opening day.
No, actually, I'm going to give you this is a pro tip for the Mets the last 4 or 5 years, even with the pitching they have. Always get tickets on the road early. You're never disappointed in those early April and May and early May games. After that, then when the injuries start piling up because they bought a lot of 30, 31, 35-year-old guys, then, you'd wish you didn't buy the ticket. So that's always the way to do it.
So that home game in May, it'll be Oliver Perez pitching. Okay, Senators at Capitals, Kings at Hurricanes, Penguins at the Blue Jackets. That's a big game for both teams. Canadians who've been slipping lately at the Red Wings, Wild and Jets. Panthers and Coyotes and the Stars against Vegas, when we'll see the debut of Mark Stone. And just to finish out, and now we'll talk about the impact of that deal, but the dancing girls and the show girls at the airport for Mark Stone as he comes in.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, come on, really?
That's funny.
Yeah.
A guy named David Mascot is asking me, and I don't know if he is a mascot or if that's his real last name, but he said, which seller did the best? I think it's the Ottawa Senators, because we've never seen a team compile this many picks and this kind of talent. And, of course, we've seen Edmonton sort of do that, but not be able to put the correct puzzle together. The one thing you have to say is, Pierre Dorion was tasked with signing or trading these guys and getting the most value, and I think he did that. Now the rest we'll see.
Okay, I'm just going to read this because our mutual friend Anthony Mangione forwarded it to us, and Jimmy Murphy tweeted it out. So this is okay. Hearing again today that the Oilers and Leafs discussed a large trade that would have seen Adam Larson end up in Toronto and Connor Brown end up in Edmonton. Well, if that's the deal, that's not a large trade. There are lots of moving pieces, and likely why it didn't happen. Could revisit in the offseason.
Again, I like Jimmy as a guy. When I see something like that, I just hear Charlie Brown's teacher talking to me.
I mean, and I understand the connection here. Everybody's putting Connor Brown and Edmonton together because Edmonton is desperate for wingers. The Leafs have to jettison some salary in the offseason, and Connor Brown played with Connor McDavid. I get it.
Yeah. Andrew Alton's asking me if Alex Tuch could play center. I don't think so. I've watched him enough where I think that his defensive game isn't strong enough to be able to play center.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll see in the offseason, but I don't know. I don't think Adam Larson really is the answer for the Leafs in terms of
No.
I mean, honestly, I know he was a top pairing guy with Edmonton. I think he's a 4, 5, 6. I don't think he's anything more than that. And he's got a big contract, $4.1 million for I think a few years. So I don't think that's a good deal.
I agree. There's a guy, Bob Dracula, in the chat room. I don't know.
What is this? Chuck Mascot and Bob Dracula? What?
I mean, if Jim Werewolf chimes in, we're signing off. Bob Dracula wants to know if the Rangers sign Kreider to an extension this offseason. I believe they will. Yeah, I never thought he was going to get traded. I just think the tires were getting kicked. But I just think it's one of those things where you have a prize, Cadillac, let's say, and you don't really want to sell it, but somebody knocks on your door and says, hey, are you selling it? And they're like, no, but go ahead, give me an offer. And they give you an offer and you say, no, you know what? I'm keeping it anyhow. I think that's how it is for Kreider.
Before we hear from Tom Riddler or John Penguin.
I know it's getting scary out there.
For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.